Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We had some technical issues with my system, so that's why the delay. Am I audible? Can you hear me? If yes, then just put yes in the chat. Just let me know if you can see me. If you can hear me, just give me a shout out. Yeah, I'm very sorry uh, for keeping everyone waiting. If you can hear me, if you can see me, just put a yes in the chat. So I know that you can at least see me and hear me. Okay, great, cool. So I'll just give you an introduction about myself. My name is Prakash Sakari. I work as a software development engineer at Reliance Geo. I am also working as a full stack mentor at Geeks. I have more than 6 to 7 years of experience in the training and development uh, domain, and I've been teaching development and even Python and data analysis to engineering students and even to working professionals as well. Right. So, as you all know, that Geeks, the Geek Olympics has started and it's midway through, and um, half of the part is still remaining. And we have also organized the hackathon, the Geeks Hackathon, right, which comprises basically of two different domains, right? For people who do not know what this hackathon is, and people who do not know what actually hackathon over here actually is, right? So if you know what hackathon is, right, just put a yes in the chat that I know what hackathon actually is. And if you've participated in any hackathon previously, just put that also in the chat that you have participated in a hackathon previously. Okay. So basically hackathon uh, is like a competition, right, where you have to make projects based on some theme, right? So different companies like Geeks for Geeks and a lot of other companies like, even Google, Microsoft, all the big time companies, they have their own hackathons, right? So they give certain themes that you have to make a project related to this theme, right? And they then select the best project, and the top three best project, basically they are decided as the winners, right? Now that is what actually hackathon is. You just It's as simple as that. Nothing else. You just have to make a project, right? Make a project on the theme that they have given, right? And I have seen people travel from one state to other state just to participate in hackathons, right? Some hackathons are online, some hackathons are even offline. So offline hackathons, you have to stay there. So some hackathons are for so earlier, when everything was offline, when things were not online, hackathon used to be for 24 hours or 48 hours. So you will have to go to certain college, or you have to go to a company, and they give you a time period of 24 hours and 48 hours, and within that time duration you have to basically build a project and submit it to them. That is what hackathon previously was, right? Now, since everything is online, we got a lot of time. And with Geeks uh, offering you an entire month to prepare for hackathon, and prepare for a project, ideate a project, think about a project, make a project, and basically just submit it, right? So with a lot of multiple attempts as well, with a lot of multiple times submission as well, right? So even if you basically have never participated in any hackathon, I will encourage you to participate in this hackathon, because you can take this hackathon as like uh, a one step closer, to participating in different hackathons or understanding what hackathon actually is. Because over here there is no restriction of the time period. We have given you a complete month, an entire month, with multiple submissions, multiple resubmissions as well, right? You can just submit your project at least 20 times, not at least 20 times. You can just submit it at most 20 times, right? You can just resubmit your projects if you think you made a goof up, or if you think you are adding a new feature. If you want to add a new feature, you can just add a new feature and then resubmit it, right? Okay, cool. So coming to what is the topic of this hackathon. So the topic of this hackathon basically is uh, related to Olympics. Right? So you have to basically theme we have kept is only Olympics, right? And how we are looking forward towards this hackathon is like, you basically have to merge two technologies together. So one is the data science domain, and the other basically is the web development domain, right? So you have to basically merge these two domains together and create a project out of it, right? Now you'll say, how basically how can we do that? How is that even possible, right? You're merging two different domains. That has been in the flow, and people have been doing that, right? Take an example for a chatbot. The chatbot basically has two different things. It has the machine learning part, and it does also have the as a web development part, right? You use the web interface to chat with the chatbot, and then the chatbot gives you the reply. Similar with GPT as well. What is GPT? It's nothing but a model, right? The trained model, a machine learning model, and you have a web interface for that, right? So in the same way over here also, what we're expecting you to do is, we're expecting you to basically use data analysis, right? And you're not expecting you to do machine learning or deep learning, right? If you want to do it, you can do it. That completely depends on you. If you want to create a model, if you're good with machine learning and deep learning and whatever it is, right? If you're good with that, you can basically create a model out of it and then show it on the web interface. If not, what you can also do is that you can basically collect some data, analyze that data, and then show it basically on the web interface, right? So for example, let's say let's basically let's say that um, you basically want to create a project on analyzing, right? How many injuries basically have happened, right? Let's say in the past 20 years, right? How many in the past 20 years, or in the past 30, 40 years or 50 years, how many players or how many athletes were basically injured in the Olympics, right? You can be also specific to basically which sport led to a lot of injuries. Let's say for example in uh, 400-meter running race, it caused a lot of injuries. You can see what was their training strategies, how did the players train, right? What led to their injuries, right? What was their running style, something like that, and analyze that data, right? You can get a data about them, right? You just have to, you can go into Kaggle, right? You can just search on Kaggle and you will get basically a data set over there, right? Regarding the Olympians. And you can also visit Olympics official website as well and get data about a lot of athletes over there as well. So you can basically see their training routine, their diet, and all the things, and you can basically create a project out of it. So the theme should basically revolve completely around Olympics. If you make a project apart from that and then submit that project, that will be discarded, right away, right? You can't you can't make any project apart from that. You can make a project on cricket or football or something like that. And so it's not sport related project, right? Or it's not even a healthcare related project or something like that. You have to think and ideate about Olympics, right? What can be related to Olympics, right? It should center about Olympics, right? The complete center should only be about Olympics, how Olympics have changed over the years, right? What was the strategy before, what are they strategizing now, right? You analyze the data, and then you can basically add your comments as well. What do you think can happen in down the line, let's say 20 years or 30 years down the line? What also can happen, right? You can do that as well. You can show a pie chart, you can show graphs as well, right? So all the things that I'm talking about majorly requires data analysis, right? Basically you require Python, NumPy, pandas, right? Matplotlib or Seaborn. You require these things only, right? And then you basically have to use when once you basically, so this is just the visualization part. Now, but when you have to also create a website out of it, right? So what you actually have to do is the data that you basically get, you basically create an API out of that. Right? You basically create an API out of that, and by using that API, by using that endpoint, you can basically create a website out of that, right? Now a lot of you might be knowing that there is something called as Streamlit as well, right? There's something called as Streamlit, which basically used to deploy these data analysis project. If you try to do that, and if you deploy your project using Streamlit and just send us the website, that again will be discarded, because we will be requiring your GitHub repository, right? We will be also requiring uh, the deployed side as well, right? Where have you deployed your front end, right? Where the UI is deployed, we'll require that website, and we'll require a GitHub repository as well, right? And in the GitHub repository, obviously we're going to check it. I do not think that there are so many entries. Will they be checking or not? Absolutely, and obviously we are going to check it. In every hackathon it happens. We basically have to go through that. And in the repository, once you just open the repository, just take a glance at it, you'll understand whether you're using the web part or not, right? If you just deployed using Streamlit, then it will be discarded. So all your efforts will basically be gone, right? but but still, right? Suppose if you want to just get a taste of it, and if you know that okay, I do not know web development, or no one in my team knows web development, but we know data analysis, you can just try and you can just do it, right? What happen is, back in the back of your mind, basically you will basically be preparing yourself for one of the projects, right? So you'll just get a taste of what hackathon is, and you know how to basically articulate the ideas, you know, brainstorm the ideas. So these are the all things. Let's talk about what are the preparation strategies, right? I think we discussed this in one of the Zoom sessions as well. I do not know whether you all were there or not, right? If not, just please register on the, just go to the Geeks for Geeks website and just find the Geek Hackathon. Register yourself over there, right? Still time is there. Just register yourself and uh, start doing this thing, right? Now, how many people, like what is the number of participation, right? uh, so you can individually participate, or you can participate in a group as well, right? You can just participate individually, or you can participate in a group as well. So individually, if you know data analysis, if you know web development, then you can participate, right? If you do not know both the things, then you can basically participate with in a group, right? So that is very, that is a very wise decision, where you find people who know, two people, let's say, who know data analysis, two people who know web development, or three people who know data analysis, one people who know, who knows web development, or any combination permutation that you want to do. And then basically you can just create a project out of it, right now. The second part is obviously about ideating, right? You have to brainstorm about it. It's not that you basically just google it and find random ideas, right? You can do that as well. You can see people's project related to hackathon. You can just search on you can just search on google, right? You can just search for, you know, the projects related to olympics, right? And you'll get a list of github repositories, or you'll get a list of articles, right? And their suggestions. You can also ask ChatGPT for help as well, right? You can also ask ChatGPT what projects you can make around olympics, and you know, just take any topic, read about those topics, right? Just dive deep into it. So when I was participating in a hackathon, right? That also was so the hackathon was just for 24 hours, but we actually knew about the hackathon a month, like a month ago, that the hackathon is going to happen. So me and my team, we basically took 3 days just to ideate about it, right? We thought about a topic, right? After thinking about the topic, we were just, you know, we just dived deep into it and thought what features we could add into it, what challenges we can face when basically developing this project, and how to avoid those challenges, which tech stack should be used, right? The project was totally about development, so we're thinking majorly about the tech stack. What can be the tech stack? Can should it be should we go with plain vanilla JavaScript, or should we use React, or should we use Angular? For backend, what should we use? Should we go with Java, or should we basically do it in Node only, right? Or or let's say, if not creating backend, can we use some APIs which are available, right? So we were just thinking about that, ideating about that, right? So you should take at least 2 to 3 days just to ideate about it, dive deep into it, ideate about it, form an idea, right? Write down all the challenges, you know, write down where you want to deploy it, right? What are the number of, so even if the place where you want to deploy it, does it allow more than, you know, 50 pings in a day, right? So that the site does not go down. All of these parameters you have to consider, and then you have to basically start making a project, because once you have these ideas, then your project building will basically be quite easier, right? And all the more, you can also basically start with web development also, right? The first part you can start with, you can basically create mock websites, right? You can basically create a mock, you can use a mock data set and just start building your website as well. You know that okay, we are going to do this thing. Let's say, for example, you have a topic that, let's say, you are going to analyze about uh, the diet plan of the winners. Let's say all the winners which have been there, their diet plan, what are their diet, and how they have changed their shape, or what they have changed, right? How, what was their what has been their success rate, right? What has been their failure rate, right? So now when you know that this is your topic, right, and someone is working on the data part, you can basically you can use mock data and start building your website, right? Once you have your actual data, you can just basically use that data set itself, right? Cool. So this is what the hackathon actually is. Now let's go into the topic about what we are actually for here. It's about API development and the tech stacks. We'll discuss that as well, right? And let me just take some couple of questions. Okay. Prerequisite for API development. So so there is no prerequisite, to be honest, over here for API development. You just should be you just should know the HTTP methods, right? If you know the HTTP method and the HTTP status codes, that is good enough, right? Um, and nothing else. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a walkthrough of how to create a very basic, a very basic API to just to get a lot of data, right? That is what I'm actually going to do to get data, uh, and to also post some data, right? Probably we'll just do how to get a data from an API, how to basically create an API to get a data, how to also deploy it, right? That is what we are actually going to do right now. A very basic way, not a very difficult way, because once you get the data, you just have to post it somewhere, right? You just have to have an API so that you can just call that API and get the data, right? Okay. What about Jobathon fresher result? So, can you please elaborate on the question? Jobathon fresher result. I didn't understand the question. Okay. So, we'll then discuss about the best practices and all of these things as well. Okay. So for now, what I'm going to do is let's just basically just create a very basic API. Okay. So let me know if you can see my screen. Okay. Let I am just logging into it. Okay. I think the is the screen. I think the screen is visible. Let me just check it. Okay. So this is a website called as rappel.com. I will just put this in the chat as well, right? So for people not even from any development background, or for people not even from um, just from the data science background, can also follow this and just basically understand how we can basically create a very basic, very basic. This basically can be used for your current hackathon, right? Basically because you have to share data, right? A lot of people had this concern where they were asking that we have the data, we can create the data, but how we can basically use it on our development side, right? How we can basically do that. So what the simple way basically what you can do is, let's say for example, once you come onto this website, you basically click on create REPL, and then you can basically click on node.js, right? So there is, if you are good with Java and all the things, right? If you're good with development, if you know development, then you can do it in your own way by using Java or by using Django or whichever way you want to use it. If you do not know, even if you know front end and if you do not know back end, you can use this method, right? You can basically click on create REPL, you can click on node.js, and let's say over here I'll just write test underscore API underscore, let's say GFG, and I'll click on create REPL, right? So node.js basically is uh, nothing but used to basically create backends, right? The way there are different frameworks and libraries, right? There is Django, there is Spring Boot. In the same way, there is Node.js built on top of JavaScript. What you can do is you can just go into examples, right? And then you can click on this server, right? You If you go to examples over here, you can just click on this server. It basically creates this thing, right? So now if I click on run, so what basically is this over here? So this basically gives you an example of Express. So what is Express? Express is nothing but a framework which is built on top of Node.js. That is what Express actually is. It's nothing but a framework which is built on top of Node.js. And Express basically can be also used to create APIs as well, right? So it will just install something. In the meanwhile, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a dummy data. So I'll just say const data equals to, right? And let me just write something like, for example, let's say name is uh, Prakash, right? And let's say the is let's say swimming, right? And let's say the year basically is, let's say, 2023. Okay, this is one data. And then in the same way, let's say I'll have let's say I'll have multiple data, right? Now I'm just for demo, I'm just taking, so this is called as a mock data where I'm creating this mock data. So let's say over here, basically, let's say the name is Vimal, and let's say the sport is, let's say, uh, running, right? Let's say 100, let's say 100 meter run, right? And let's say it is Maruf. Let's say the sport is 200-meter run, and let's say this is Amit, and let's say the sport is, let's say, um, what are the sports? Let's say it is some. It is also swimming. Okay. So this is my data, right? A dummy data, but your data would actually have a lot of different things. So this is, let's say, one dummy data. Now what I can do basically is that, so if you see on the right hand side over here, it basically just say that the server has actually started. What you have to do is you just have to use app.get and then create an endpoint, right? So endpoint, let's say it has API, and then and over here we'll basically just say that it is the uh, athlete data, athlete, athlete data. Okay, or let's say I'll just write athletes over here, athletes. I hope the spelling is not incorrect. And then over here basically we'll have to create a function, right? So this basically is a function, and then over here I'm just going to write response dot send, and then this simple data, right? But I directly cannot send it in this way. So what I have to do is over here, since whenever you basically have to get a data from an API, we always try to get in the form of JSON, right? Or we, if you have not heard of it, so it's basically called as JSON or JSON. So JSON basically stands for JavaScript Object Notation. So all the APIs, right? Right now the APIs which we are using all around the world, or the companies which are using basically APIs, they always send you the data whenever you try to want a data from a server, that you want the data of all the athletes, you want the data of something. So basically they send the data in the form of JSON itself. So over here we'll write over here this app.use express.json, right? So um, express.json. So what is basically this app, right? So see over here, firstly, basically we create a server. So this basically is called as creating a server, right? We have created. So this is not creating a server. Basically, we are uh, importing the express, right? The express module, because we want to use the um, express express module on top of basically node.js. And then over here we are creating a server, right? Creating a server, right? App. And then basically we are, so this basically is the instance, right? Instance of creating a server. And then what we are saying is that we are telling this app to use express.json. So this module basically has a lot of different methods, a lot of different files. So what is express.json? It's basically used to convert whatever data you have into a JSON format, right? So this basically is nothing but, so the data that I have over here is nothing but an array of objects, right? But what I want to send to the user basically is nothing but a JSON file, right? So what I'm going to do over here is, I'm, instead of just writing response.send, I'll just write response.json, and I'll basically want to send this data, right? And now let me just save this, right? And let me just stop it and rerun it. So I'll rerun it. And this app.listen basically is nothing but a port on which basically we have to start the server. So now it says the server has started. I will click over here, right? It just says hello express, right? Now if I basically come over here, I can see that I have created an endpoint called as API slash athletes. So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply write backslash API backslash ATHELETES. I think this is the spelling. Let me just copy it from here and put it over here. And if I press enter, uh, res is, it says res is not defined. Okay, so let's just define res. So just write this. request. I think it's request and then response. So this basically function basically will take two things. One is a request and one is a response. So I'll save it and then basically try to run it again and say server started. And then if I refresh this now, so now if you see, I basically get a data, right? So this basically nothing but my endpoint, and on to this endpoint, I basically got a data, right? And let's say, for example, you also want to see how basically I can use this data. So let what I'm going to do is let me just create a code sandbox, right? But before that, does anyone has any questions regarding this, right? How basically, so this is it, right? Nothing else. This is it. You just have to use this app.get, right, and create an endpoint, whatever you can name it to, right? So generally we name it in this way: API slash athletes, or API slash whatever you want to name it, right? Sports person, or whatever is should be your endpoint name. It should be plural. And then basically just use response.json and just basically just send this data, as simple as it can be. If you have learned this before, then you can use the best practices. This is just for people who have actually never done this, right? So a lot of people were asking how we can do it. So for people who have never done this, you just have to add this line, right? And then whatever data you are getting, let's say if the data is coming in the form of CSV, you can use that as well. Okay, you can basically just parse your CSV data directly over here. Everything would be converted. So generally what happens is that whenever you're working on the data analysis project, the data that you'll get, you will basically use it in the form of CSV, right? Uh, when you download it or export it, you'll get in the form of CSV. You can basically directly upload your CSV file also over here, right? For example, what I can do is I can just so if I click over here, so there is an option of upload also over here. On the left hand side, if you see files, if I click over here, it says upload. So I can upload any CSV file also over here. That will come over here, and then you just have to use that thing, right? You'll have to use a module to import CSV. So over here, you can just search how to import let's say CSV files, CSV files, let's say in CSV files in Express, right? Or how to use CSV files in Express. So let's say Express.js. I search for it, right? And then basically I get a lot of different things over here. You basically just open any website and yeah, just use any open any website, right? I'm just searching for Geeks for Geeks, something from Geeks for Geeks, or let's say in Stack. I was also searching for Stack Overflow itself. Right? So you just have to go through the all of these things, right? Yeah, this I think this will do it. Parse and then require CSV parser, and I think yeah, this package should do it. So just read about this package, the CSV parser, right? And then you'll basically also see all of basically the best practice solutions as well. So just search for the CSV parser, and then you can basically parse your CSV data and then put it over there, right? And now since we have the website, we have basically this data over here. I'll show you how basically we can use this also. So let's say I have this code sandbox. So what is this code sandbox? This is basically to create some React project, right? So what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to show you how basically I can get the data also over here. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to say import. So I'm doing this in React. You can do this in JavaScript as well. Use effect from React, and okay if you do not understand this thing, right? But I just want to show you that how basically I can get the data also over here, right? Right. For this also, I have to also enable cores as well, right? So I think I'll have to write over here app dot. I think I have to use const express const cores equals to require cores. So cores basically is cross origin restrictions. Like for example, if you try to share data from, if you want, if you're basically trying to get a data from a different endpoint, right? I'm in code sandbox right now, right? This is a different website, a different different endpoint, and then I'm trying to get a data from this endpoint. So when you're trying to do it on two different things, you basically will get an error of cross origin, right? So what you have to do is you just have to use cores, and then you can just say uh, app.use course. This basically should work. I think this will work. If not, we'll check. We'll check it also. Right. Now what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to say use effect, and then I'm just going to say fetch, and I'll just copy this and write over here fetch this data, and we'll see this in the console, and dot then I'll just take the response. Since I'll just convert this into JSON, and dot then data console dot log the data. Right. So now if I run it, right, if you can see over here, I'm basically able to get the data, and I'm getting the entire data, whatever I wanted, name and then sport and then year also, right? So what I've simply done is that I've basically created an API. Now, if I copy this and put this in the chat also, you will also be able to use it wherever you want to use it, right? Since I've just put this API into in the chat, right? If you know JavaScript, you can do this using JavaScript also. The code for JavaScript also, the code will be the same. Instead of just this use effect, you just have to write this fetch and the logic, right? And basically you'll just get the entire data, right? Whatever data I've just written over here, you'll also be able to see that data in your JavaScript, in your code also, right? So this is basically how you can basically create a very simple APIs, right, for your data, whatever data the person is going to send you. Now again, I'm not telling you that you have to write the data in this way. This is just a mock way of creating, right? Because your data, yours will be a humongous data, right? Let's say it will have data of even if it has data of 40 athletes, the data will not have just three things. Your data will have a lot of different parameters and a lot of different points. So obviously you'll get a CSV file. You just have to use a CSV parser in order to get the CSV data. Once you get the CSV data, right, you just have to, the way I'm writing over here, response.json data. Instead of this over here, you'll have your CSV data, right? I'll just write CSV data. Something like this will come over here, right? Right now, do not have any CSV data. That's why I'm not able to show. But it's the same way. You just have to use the CSV parser for that. Okay, and then wherever you want to use it, wherever you're creating your website, you just basically use it, and basically you'll get it, right? The important thing is to basically use this scores. If you do not use this scores, you'll basically get the cross origin restriction error, where generally uh, whenever you're passing data from one separate entity to some different entity, let's say one separate URL to a different URL, it's basically cross origin, right? The origins are different. This is one separate URL which is starting from code sandbox. This is starting from REPL. So when you want to transfer data between them, you basically have to enable this thing, right? Because by default the browser will always restrict this. So you have to enable that, you have to enable the CORS. Okay, cool. So everyone clear with this thing? Yeah, you have to import the CSV file. Okay, cool. Okay, is everyone clear with that? Right? How APIs, right? Because so since I'm just keeping it related to the hackathon, right? It's not about that you have to develop a complete API. You're not going to get any brownie points with the API that you're going to basically create. No one actually basically will look at that, right? But you basically should know how to create an API. That's why basically I decided to take this thing. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, just post the questions, because I have actually completed my part of the API part, right? And the tech stacks that you can use uh, for development is whatever you want to use, you can use it. Right? Try not to use PHP and all of those things. For front end, you can use um, vanilla JavaScript itself. You can use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If you're good with React, you just use React, right? If you're good with Angular, Vue, use that, right? Or any other thing you want to use, you can use that thing. Okay, just do not use any templates or something like that. That basically will lead to a lot of disqualification, right? You should have a proper GitHub repository, right? A proper GitHub repository, and you can name it anything. Just give it a name of your project, right? You should have a GitHub repository, and the contributors in your GitHub repository should only be the participants, right? So for example, if you have put four names, right, let's say Prakash, right, whatever is the four names, right, your contributor should not be anyone apart from these four names, right? If you find that there are multiple contributors, then that will also lead to disqualification also, right? So the contributors to your GitHub repository should only be either the four participants or any, let's say, even if there is one person who's basically just writing the code, that one contributor is also good enough. But no one apart from the registered user or the registered participant should be a contributor. Okay, that is one thing. Secondly, you should have a live link. Now, where you can deploy this backend, there is no need to deploy the backend also. We just did it without deploying the backend. So, for example, I'm using REPL. That's why I thought of using REPL, because there is no need to deploy it anywhere. You have this REPL, and then you basically can use this link itself, right? If you can click over here, open a new tab, you get this link, then you basically add whatever it is, backslash API, and then backslash athletes at ATH athletes, and you basically get this data. So this is nothing but your endpoint. There is no need to also host this anywhere, right? But if you want to host it somewhere, you can use something called as cyclic, right? I'll just put this also in the chat, right? Or let me just share my screen again so that I can show that to you. So this is cyclic, and right now it is completely free of cost, and then you can basically also put your backend as well, right? Um, Right. Do not use Heroku, because Heroku is now paid, right? Heroku is now charging a lot, because I had to again redeploy all my backend from Heroku to Cyclic. So I think most of this is on Cyclic. And if you click on pricing also, so if you see, it's basically free forever, and it has a lot of API requests as well, 10,000 API requests a month. And then you can basically do JavaScript, TypeScript, right, Python, and all the things as well. But there is actually, I don't think any point of wasting your time in basically just creating like a solid robust API. You just have to get the data and nothing else. Okay. How we can use the open AI API? It's the same way the way I used it, right? In the course, you uh, suppose, for example, now let's say I've used this thing, this code sandbox, right? Or instead of this thing, you just put in your open API endpoint. That's it. That's what you have to do. And then you do this thing, response.json, and then you basically get the data. You see how the data is. Let's just take an example. So do you have any reference? OpenAI API. Okay. But why do you want to use this thing? So see, this basically would also lead to OpenAI API. They'll already have the data made, right? If you are using OpenAI API, they'll already have the data made. You have to create your own data. Some data which is ready made, or some data which is already available on the internet, if you try to use that data, make a project onto that data, you'll be disqualified. So again, I'm saying it's not only about web development, or it's not only about data science. It's basically collaboration of both the things, right? So you have to make your own data, and then you have to make your own website. You can't get a data from somewhere and then create a website out of it. That will again lead to disqualification, right? Or you cannot create your data and then you just streamlet to just deploy it. That will again lead to disqualification. So there's no point in discussing how to use OpenAI. Okay. Okay. Now, discuss about the tech stacks as well. So if you have any questions, just put the questions in the chat, and we can just discuss about the remaining things as well. Okay. Whatever questions you have in your mind, you can just put all the questions in the chat, and we can discuss about those questions as well. So API part is completely done, right? Um, you can just again go back through this YouTube, uh, this video, and again check how basically you can use APIs as well. Okay. Any question, anyone? I'm also thinking about some question that basically can come up, and thinking about the questions. Yeah. So one of the question that I was basically recently asked is that how this hackathon basically would help, right? A lot of students never participate in any hackathon. Firstly, they think that they have to know a lot in order to participate in a hackathon. That is completely wrong. You do not need to know a lot to participate in a hackathon. You just need to know how to use things, right? Everything is available on Google. Everything is available on YouTube. Right now, there is Chat GPT also, so you can use a lot of different things, right? So for example, even if you're, let's say if you're if no one in your group knows development, or no one in your groups knows data science, you just divide that thing, right? Let's say you're four people, just give two people the part of data analysis, give two people the part of development. Take a week and just go through different YouTube videos, see how you can create a website, see how you can basically create how you can do data analysis as well. Once you've done that through a week, come up with your own idea, start ideating about the idea, start making a project. Unless and until you do not start, you will not know what a hackathon actually is. It's nothing but just making a project. That's what a hackathon actually is. It's just about previously hackathon was all about the timing, right? It was just do it in 24 hours, do it in 6 hours, do it in 8 hours, do it in 10 hours. That what hackathon previously was all about, right? To give you a very simple example is that you can also create extensions with hackathon as well, like browser extensions as well. So one of the hackathon that I basically had attended is that the person who won the hackathon basically had created a browser extension, right? A browser extension to basically track your daily tasks, to create a timer that you have to basically complete a task within 30 minutes, within let's say 2 hours. After every 30 minutes, it will basically give you a reminder that okay, 30 minutes have passed by, right? And something like that also. And in that extension, it also added that do remember to drink water in every 1 hour, something like that. So that person won the hackathon. He just had created a very, and it was a very very simple project. It was not at all a very complicated project. It didn't had any back end or nothing. It was only a front end project. All the data was static, but it was very beautifully, it was a very good looking project, and a very simple project that he had actually made, right? It was solving some problem. So the first thing that he focused on, what problem basically people are facing, or what problem can I solve. So he basically took that topic. He basically made a project which was actually causing him a problem, right? For him, when he wanted to basically focus on a task, what used to happen is that he was very distracted, right? So and basically um so what he actually did is that he basically created a project for himself, that I want to basically complete a task within this amount of time. So I'll just create an extension, right, while working. So it'll show me in every 30 minutes, give me a reminder, okay, here I'm lagging, there I'm lagging. Also keep on posting a message or encouragement message, right? After, let's say, after every half an hour, that you can do it, something like that. So that's how basically, it's not necessary that your project should have a lot of data, should have a lot of things, right? A very simple project that could solve a problem can also be good enough, right? You can also see, the first thing how you can ideate is that you can basically just search, right, what are the problems that the Olympians are facing these days, the athletes are facing these days, or what is a problem the Olympians used to face, right? Or what problems can the Olympians face, right, the athletes can face. You can think about that problem, and you can also ask what can be this possible solution. There can be a list of solutions, and then you can create a project out of that solution, as simple as that, right? A lot of people say that how can I ideate it? Just search on Google. Ideation basically requires searching that what is the problem, right? Even if you want to make a project, or even if you want to start a business, let's say a startup idea, just search about it. Whatever is your target audience, let's say uh, the young generation is your target audience, or let's say children is your target audience, or let's say the 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 older people are your target audience. So you can just search what are the problems that these age groups are facing, right? So let's say XYZ is a problem, and you can just also ask, okay, what can be the possible solutions? If you're not getting it on Google, you can ask ChatGPT also. What can be the possible solutions for these problems that this generation is facing? It'll tell you that these are nothing but the possible solutions, right? Then you can also ask, can we make a project out of it? It will say yes or no. Or if you basically have understood the possible solution, you start working on the project. This are basically things actually work. So there's, to find an idea, there's no need to do meditation and then go deep into your thoughts and do, oh, how can I get an idea? It's quite simple, right? Just Google everything. You have everything in your hand. Okay. Okay. Uh, cool. Uh, Akshi, just put this question in Discord. Okay. I think you might have joined the Discord as well. Just put this on Discord, right? About this data in the CSV file. There are links. Just put this on Discord, right? Um, Somewhere, and also when you put it, also put the screenshot of your code as well, right? What is the data, and put a screenshot of your code as well, both the data screenshot and the code screenshot as well. So if there is any problem in the code or any logic problem with any logic, someone might be there to basically help you out. Okay. Okay, cool. Does anyone has any further questions? Because I think um tech stack for backend. Tech stack for backend basically can be any tech stack, whatever you want to do it. This the what I showed you was basically using Node.js, right? And but if so, again, I'm telling you, right? We're not focusing on the tech stack. Right? We're just focusing on the project. You can so tech stack we have kept open for you. You can use any tech stack that you want, right? Any tech stack that you want, but be sure that that does not take a lot of time, right? If there is something new that you have to learn uh, right now, do not do that. You can do that later on as well, right? Because when you have to learn something new, then it will take a lot of time. Something if you already know it, you can just do it. Or if not, if you have to learn backend, do not learn, just go through the YouTube video. Basically showing how we can basically create a very simple API to get data as well, right? See, again, I'm telling you, Siba Prasad. Currently, we are not looking at the tech stack, right? We're not thinking about the tech stack. Whichever you want to choose, choose it. Choose Spring, choose Node, whatever you want to choose. Whichever you know, choose it. If you're talking it about in terms of the industry, both are used in the industry right now, right? So I am working at Geo. At Geo, we are basically using Java. So obviously we are using Spring Boot itself, right? Node.js is used in, I think, in some of the projects, but majorly it's Spring we are using. But related to the hackathon, you can use whatever you want to use, right? Again, I'm telling, any tech stack that you want to use, any tech stack to create front end, to create back end, you can use it, right? Any tech stack does not matter at all. Okay. Cool. I think there are no further questions, right? And I have tried to think about the questions uh, and all the questions that I wanted even to discuss. I think I've covered all the questions. Uh, okay. So cool. I think that's it from this session. Do watch the video again if you basically just want to have a quick go through about obviously you can create the API. Keep working on it. If you have not joined the Discord, just join the Discord group. The link basically would be there, will be there, I think. Let me just check if the link is there in the chat, right? Yeah, so there is a link basically to register for the Geeks for Geeks Olympics. If you just basically click on that link, I think it should also show you the Discord group as well. So you can basically join the Discord group. Yeah, there will be an option to join now, right? Um Let me. Okay, so just click on that link and join on the group, right? Okay, let me just share the screen and then show that also to you. um, Add to stream, and let's just search for Geeks for Geeks hackathon. Hackathon. Solving for India. I think this is the one. No, this is not the one. So it is Geeks for Geeks. practice geeks.org, and it is hackathon, hackathon slash geek hyphen. This basically is the hackathon page, right? Over here, you'll get the dataset repository as well, right? So if you just open this, and you will basically get the dataset repository as well. So Ashish basically is the data science mentor who's basically created this repository, right? So if you see medals.csv, um, click on view raw. Okay, so since the file is too big, it can't be shown. Okay, it's over here. uh, yeah, ice hockey and all the things. So this is, you just have to clone the repository, right? Once you clone the repository, basically you can have a look at this medal.csv, right? You can use this data set, or you can use your own data set as well, right? Or you can add on to this data set as well. So it's not that you just have to use that data set. You can use your own data set as well, and you can add on to your data set as well, and go through this website. Okay, just go through this website, and just see what is the problem statement and what are we expecting and all the things, and the first prize, second prize, and all the prizes as well, whatever you're interested in. Okay, just go through this website, and majorly all your doubts, everything should be cleared. If not, then there is the Discord channel as well. You can just join the Discord channel. Any questions related to your solutions or anything, you can just put it over there, and basically you'll just get some help from someone over there. Okay, so that's it from my time, right? And thank you for your active participation. If you have any questions, anything, you can basically just put it on Discord, or reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, right? LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn, I'll just put my LinkedIn for now. LinkedIn.com/Prakash Satari. So this basically is the LinkedIn handle, right? So after the URL linkedin.in, you just have to put /Prakash Sakari. You'll just find me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And if you have any doubt, especially related to the web part, right, not the data analysis part, right, because currently I'm just looking into the web part. The data analysis part, you can just connect with Ashish, or you can just put in the Discord as well. For the web part, you can just connect with me, and I'll be happy enough to help you out. Okay, so that's it from my time, right? I will see you somewhere soon. Bye bye.